Hi, this is Zach, and I'm going to show you how to move and rotate parts that you can't otherwise run layout on inside of your BIM model. So for this example, I have this elevation, and it has lugs that run into this sill can. This one right here. It runs inside the sill can and goes in between the verticals. So there's one of these per vert, not per jam, just per vert, and it's supposed to be oriented this way because it runs in this track here on the head can. Unfortunately, we can't do that using layout because these exist on the vertical tag line. The vertical tag line you lay out from this view here, where you can see the vertical, but I'm not able to lay this part out because it's extruded in a direction that isn't the same as this vertical part. So the way I did this in my model here, or in my data, I have it here with the vertical, but I wasn't able to run layout, so I left it all blank. And what I had planned to do was move it in the BIM model so that I can get it rotated correctly. So I'm gonna use isolate so that I can limit myself, so I only see these three parts: the head can, the vert, and the lug itself. Now I can use my normal AutoCAD commands to rotate this and move it so that it is in the right position. Go ahead and run the rotate command. Take this, and I'll just rotate it around some arbitrary point because I'm going to move it, and we'll rotate it 90 degrees. Now I can see it over here. Now I need these legs to go inside this track, so I'll move this, grab the midpoints, here, center it inside the raceway. That. And it looks like the legs here are going into the vertical, which is correct. They're going into the parts of the vertical where it's supposed to, but I need to move it left and right. So do that. Move it this way. Um, so I only want this to move in the X direction. I don't want it to move in the Y and the Z. So I'm going to use a little trick here. If I type out the two axes where I don't want it to move, I put a period in front of it. This is called a point filter. I don't want it to move in the Y or the Z, so I typed in .yz. Then I'll just put at for my direction. And now it's just asking me for the X, and I want the X to be, well, I probably picked a bad spot for that, but if I pick there, now it only moved in the X. It didn't move up and down. It didn't do anything weird. I actually want this part to be kind of centered here, so I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to do move. I want to grab it by the midpoint this time of any one of these lines, doesn't matter. And then using that same trick, I only wanted to move it in the X, so I'm going to type in .yz, shift at, so that it doesn't move in the Y and the Z. And now for my X, I'll do mid between 2 points. And I'll click inside either side of this vertical so that it's centered perfectly. And now you should see that it's correctly oriented and it's in the right spot. Now to save all these changes that I did, because I rotated this and I moved it, I'm going to save the BIM model. And because I only made one change, it's going to ask me to either update the base data, so all the verts with this lug are going to have this rotation and this movement, or I can make it an override, so only this one is rotated like that. I'm going to update the base data. And what it did was it redrew the other vertical because they're using the same tagline, and it too has the correct orientation now. Now if I close this and just to prove to you that it's moved permanently, I'm going to go back to my elevation. I'm going to run update database. And then I'm going to run the BIM model again. Everything. You can see that in this 3D view, that part is already rotated into the right spot. And it will be like that as long as I use the data for this vertical. I'll show you the vertical data. Right now it doesn't look like it's changed, but it did change. I just have to hit refresh. Now you can see there's a displacement here, which encapsulates all the rotations and the movements that I did with that part. So anytime I want this lug positioned the way it is relative to the end point of the vertical tagline, I can use this thing with this displacement in it. I can just copy this around and it will have it. And that should about do it. Thank you.